Have you ever stopped and asked yourself, how long should a man really last in bed? I mean, think about it. Is there such a thing as being too quick? Or maybe even too long? And here's the part most people don't talk about. How does all of this change as we get older? You might think it's just about the bedroom, but it's so much more than that. It touches confidence, self-esteem, your health, and even the bond you share with your partner. Now, I want you to imagine this for a moment. You notice changes in yourself or maybe in your partner. Things don't feel the same as they used to. And suddenly, a small worry starts growing in the back of your mind. You might feel anxious, maybe even embarrassed to talk about it. But here's the truth. You are not alone, and these changes are normal. More importantly, knowing what's going on gives you the power to act, to understand, and to keep intimacy alive in a way that feels good for both of you. By the end of this video, you're going to learn what urologists actually say about how long men last. You'll discover what's truly normal when it might be a sign of something bigger, and most importantly, you'll get real, practical tips to support sexual health in later life. Things most people never talk about openly, but that matter more than you might realize. So here's what I want you to do right now. Pause for a second, comment below with your guess. How many minutes do you think men should last? Don't overthink it, just go with your gut. I promise we're going to uncover the real answer in just a few minutes. And while you're at it, hit that subscribe button for elderly advice for life. If you care about staying strong, healthy, and confident as you age, or helping someone you love do the same, this channel is exactly where you want to be. Trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next. Let's start with something that might surprise you. A few years ago, researchers asked couples all over the world to actually time themselves in the bedroom. Yes, they literally used stopwatches. Awkward, right? But the results were fascinating, and not what most people expect. On average, most men last between 2 and 7 minutes. That's it. 2 to 7 minutes. Now, before you start feeling worried, let me explain something important. As men age, stamina naturally changes. Recovery takes longer, erections may not be as firm, and performance might feel different than it did in your 20s or 30s. But here's the key. This doesn't automatically mean there's a serious health problem. It's just part of the normal changes our bodies go through as time passes. This is where a lot of myths sneak in. Media, movies, and even pornography have convinced many men and women that lasting 30 minutes or longer is normal. It's not. That expectation is unrealistic, and chasing it can actually create stress, anxiety, and frustration for both partners. Sometimes just focusing on the clock can take away from the intimacy itself. The closeness, the connection, the satisfaction you share. So what's the real advice here? Don't get caught up in numbers. Instead, pay attention to how you feel, how connected you are with your partner, and whether the experience is mutually satisfying. Communication is everything. Ask questions, share feelings, and make intimacy about both of you, not just the duration. And yet, while these numbers are usually normal, there's a catch. Finishing too quickly, or going on much longer than average, can sometimes signal something deeper. It could be stress, it could be a medical condition, or it could be an issue with nerves or blood flow. So, it's not just about counting minutes, it's about understanding what your body is telling you. Coming up next, we're going to talk about when finishing too quickly can actually be a warning sign you shouldn't ignore. Trust me, this is one you'll want to hear. Now, let's talk about something a little more serious. Imagine this. Everything used to feel normal, comfortable, and satisfying, but suddenly, a man starts finishing within seconds. Not minutes, not a little early, seconds. At first, he might laugh it off, maybe feel embarrassed, or even avoid intimacy altogether. But here's the thing. This isn't just frustrating. Could be a red flag that something deeper is going on. Medically, this is often called premature ejaculation. And it's not always about self-control or willpower, even though society sometimes makes men feel like it is. There are real biological reasons behind it. Stress, for example, can make your nervous system hypersensitive, causing you to reach climax faster than expected. Prostate issues can play a role, changing the way your body responds. Even subtle nerve sensitivity, which often increases with age, can make it harder to last. The misconception is huge here. Many people think, if I just try harder, I can fix this. But the truth is, it's not a simple matter of trying harder. The body has its own signals, and when something changes suddenly, it's trying to tell you something important. Ignoring it or blaming yourself can make anxiety worse, which only worsens the issue in a frustrating cycle. So what can you do? There are gentle, practical steps that can make a real difference. Stress reduction is huge. Mindfulness, breathing exercises, even simple walks can calm your nervous system. Exercise helps with blood flow and stamina, while pelvic floor exercises, sometimes called Kegels, can strengthen control in ways most people don't realize. And if these changes aren't enough, talking to a professional isn't shameful, it's proactive. A urologist or sexual health specialist can guide you through safe and effective strategies. Understanding this is powerful because it reminds you, sexual health isn't just about pleasure or performance. It's a reflection of your overall well-being. When you notice changes like this, paying attention rather than brushing it off can protect both your health and your relationship. And now, while finishing too quickly can be a warning sign, the opposite side exists too. Sometimes, lasting too long isn't a mark of endurance. It can actually signal other health concerns. And here's why you should never ignore that either. Now, let's flip the script for a moment. We've talked about finishing too quickly, but what about the opposite? Some men actually brag about lasting an hour, or even longer. At first, it might sound impressive, like a badge of honor. But medically, it's not always a blessing. In fact, lasting too long can be just as much of a warning sign as finishing too quickly. This is often called delayed ejaculation. And it's more common than most people realize, especially as men get older. There are several reasons it can happen. Diabetes, for example, can affect nerves and blood flow, making it harder for the body to respond normally. Certain medications, some antidepressants, blood pressure drugs, even pain medications, can slow down ejaculation as a side effect. And sometimes, nerve damage from aging or previous surgeries can make timing unpredictable. The misconception here is huge. Many people think, wow, he must be strong or he must have incredible stamina. But in older men, lasting an unusually long time is often a sign that something isn't working as it should. It's the body's way of signaling that nerves, hormones, or circulation might need attention. And ignoring it can sometimes lead to frustration, stress, or even relationship strain. So what can you do? First, take a careful look at medications. If you've recently started a new prescription, ask your doctor if it could be affecting sexual function. Keep track of your blood sugar if you have diabetes, because consistent high levels can harm nerves and circulation over time. And most importantly, keep the lines of communication open with your partner. Talk about what feels good, what feels frustrating, and work together to find solutions that reduce stress and increase intimacy. Understanding this side of the story is just as important as knowing about premature ejaculation. Sexual health isn't a competition, it's a window into your overall wellness. And paying attention to these signs early can help you maintain not only intimacy, but confidence and connection. So, now that we've explored timing, too short, too long, let's zoom out for a moment. How does aging in general affect bedroom performance? That's our next point, and it's something every older man and his partner should understand. Now, let's take a step back and think about the bigger picture, aging and intimacy. Think back to your 20s or even your 30s. Remember how everything used to feel effortless? Recovery was quick, stamina seemed endless, and things just worked. But now, maybe it feels different. Maybe it takes a little longer to get there, or things don't last quite like they used to. You're not imagining it. This is a real, natural part of aging, and it happens to almost every man. Here's why. As we get older, testosterone levels gradually decline. That's the hormone that plays a big role in libido, energy, and sexual performance. Blood circulation slows down a bit, and the body doesn't respond as quickly as it once did. Recovery between sessions takes longer. It's not a flaw, it's just biology doing its thing. The misconception here is huge. Some people think that aging means intimacy is over, that once you hit a certain age, the bedroom just stops working. But that's simply not true. Many couples enjoy fulfilling, passionate intimacy well into their 70s, 80s, and beyond. It's not about youth, it's about understanding your body, adjusting expectations, and focusing on connection rather than timing. So what can you do? Regular checkups are key. Talk to your doctor about hormone levels, circulation, and overall health. A healthy lifestyle, balanced diet, regular exercise, reducing stress, can make a surprisingly big difference. And most importantly, focus on closeness rather than just performance. Touch, laughter, conversation, emotional intimacy, these are the things that keep passion alive no matter your age. Understanding this helps you see that sexual health is part of your overall well-being, not a separate challenge to conquer. And now that we've explored how age changes performance, it's time to get to the part everyone's been waiting for. The real advice from urologists about what's actually considered ideal. What's the number they recommend and what does it mean for you? So, after all this discussion about timing, stamina, and aging, the question you've probably been waiting for is, what's the golden number? How long should a man last in bed? Well, here's the truth. Most experts agree it's not about hitting a stopwatch, counting seconds, or comparing yourself to someone else. It's about mutual satisfaction, about how connected and fulfilled both partners feel. Research shows that, on average, around 5 to 7 minutes of penetration is considered healthy for most couples. But here's the most important part. Intimacy can't and shouldn't be judged by numbers alone. How you communicate, how comfortable you feel, how connected you are, these are the things that really define a healthy sexual relationship. A few minutes can be enough if you're fully present and attentive. Conversely, even a long session can feel empty if there's tension, anxiety, or disconnection. This is where misconceptions often creep in. Chasing unrealistic numbers, worrying about being too fast, or not long enough, only creates stress and performance anxiety. And as we've talked about before, stress itself can make everything worse, shortening or prolonging timing in ways you don't want. So what's the practical advice? Focus on relaxation. Focus on communication with your partner. Take care of your body and overall health. Don't let the clock dictate intimacy. Find ways to enjoy the moment, notice the small gestures of connection, and make the experience about closeness rather than timing. Small changes in your mindset can make a bigger difference than any medical intervention. Understanding this perspective is empowering because it shifts the focus from pressure to enjoyment, from anxiety to connection. It reminds you that sexual health is a reflection of overall well-being, and taking care of yourself, physically, mentally, and emotionally, will naturally support satisfying intimacy. And now, after covering these 5 key insights, let's step back and look at the bigger picture. The emotional side of all this and why being aware, proactive, and understanding matters more than numbers ever will. For many couples, noticing these changes can feel like more than just a shift in the bedroom. It can feel like a loss of youth, a loss of closeness, or even a loss of confidence in masculinity. That weight, that quiet worry, can sit on your shoulders for years if left unspoken. And it's not just the men who feel it, partners feel it too, sensing the change in energy, the shift in connection. It can make simple intimacy feel stressful, even intimidating, instead of joyful and connecting. But here's the truth, aging doesn't mean the end of intimacy. It doesn't mean your love life has to fade away. What it does mean is that the rhythm changes. It might be slower, it might require more patience, but it can also become richer, more meaningful, and deeply fulfilling in ways you might not have experienced before. Connection isn't measured in minutes or seconds. It's measured in presence, trust, and care. If you've noticed changes in your own life or in the life of someone you love, take action. But do it gently. Talk to your doctor about health concerns, yes, but also talk to your partner. Open conversation, honesty, and care go further than timing ever will. Ask questions, share fears, and listen. The intimacy that grows from understanding, respect, and patience is often the most rewarding of all. And here's the hopeful part. Healthy intimacy is possible at every stage of life. Even in your 60s, 70s, and beyond, connection, passion, and closeness can flourish. Sometimes, when you adjust expectations, embrace awareness, and focus on shared experience rather than performance, intimacy can become even more beautiful than it ever was in your younger years. It's not about perfection, it's about presence, love, and living fully together. Remember, these changes aren't a sentence, they're an invitation. An invitation to slow down, listen, and reconnect in ways that make both partners feel valued, desired, and deeply connected. And that, in the end, is what sexual health and intimacy are really all about. So, before we wrap up, let's take a moment to recap everything we've covered today. We talked about the real numbers behind bedroom timing, how the average is much shorter than most people expect, and how aging naturally affects stamina. We explored when finishing too quickly or lasting too long can actually be a warning sign of underlying health issues. We discussed how aging changes performance, reminding you that intimacy isn't over as you get older, it just evolves. And finally, we uncovered what urologists recommend as the ideal duration, emphasizing that satisfaction, connection, and comfort matter far more than minutes on a clock. Now, I want to hear from you. Which matters more in your experience, or in your relationship? Lasting longer or feeling more connected? Is it the numbers that matter, or the closeness, the touch, the laughter? Take a moment to type your thoughts in the comments below. I promise this is a safe space to share your experiences and insights. Sometimes just reading other people's stories can help you feel less alone, and even spark ideas for improving your own intimacy and connection. And if you found this video helpful, make sure to hit that subscribe button for elderly advice for life. This channel is all about real conversations on health, aging, and living fully, helping you or your loved ones stay strong, confident, and informed at every stage of life. Don't forget to like this video too, especially if it gave you a new perspective on sexual health or reminded you that intimacy is about love, not numbers. Thank you so much for watching and staying with me until the end. Remember, intimacy isn't about minutes, it's about connection, care, and presence. Aging doesn't take away your ability to share love, passion, and closeness. It just invites you to experience it in a new, deeper way. Stay informed, stay strong, and I'll see you in the next video, ready to explore more ways to live your best, healthiest, and most connected life.